Welcome, brothers. There's so much to talk about in terms of wacky units and cool combos in the new codexes for 10th edition. So in this first video, we're covering Captain Tycho, the command squad, and maybe even one more bonus character in enhancement. Alright, let's get into it. This is going to be first of a few videos where we talk about crazy things in the codex, and Captain Tycho plus the command squad and plus maybe another character as well is actually one of the craziest. So let's talk about the command squad. Tycho, first of all, is 75 points, which is very cheap. The command squad is 165. You might think that's a lot for 5 Marines, but let me tell you what's cool about the command squad. So each Marine has 3 wounds. Right, cool. And what's interesting about the squad is it doesn't have a character keyword. So technically nobody in the squad is a character. What you're going to get in the squad is 1 apothecary, 1 ancient, 1 champion, and 2 veterans. So apothecary has a bolt pistol and chainsword. That's fine. Any number of models can have their bolt pistol placed with the following. So we'll replace his bolt pistol with an infernal pistol or plasma pistol. I like infernal pistols, but some people like plasma. Both is cool. We'll then take our company ancient. The company ancient is equipped with a bolt pistol and a close combat weapon. So again, we'll be able to swap out his bolt pistol for an infernal pistol or plasma pistol. So you could have 2 plasmas or 2 infernals at this point. The company champion is equipped with a bolt pistol, a champion's blade, and a shield. The shield is a 4-up invuln, so it's essentially a storm shield. Remember, these are 3 wound marines. So now we've got the champion with a 4-up invuln. We also have basically the Champion's Blade, which is like a master-crafted sword, but also with precision. So he's going to have 4 attacks, weapon skill 3, strength 5 minus 2 damage. So it's not bad, but also precision. So you can assign attacks to characters if you're fighting a squad. Again, we can replace his bolt pistol with an infernal pistol. So at this point, we can have 3 infernal pistols. And then that's where the squad starts to get interesting. We have 2 veterans in the squad. Any number of veterans can have their bolt pistol replaced with the shield. So we'll drop 2 more bolt pistols and we'll take 2 shields. So that gives us 3 storm shields in this squad at this moment. I mean, there could be an argument for just taking, you know, everybody in the squad has an infernal pistol, 5 infernal pistols. But I like the idea of having the shields on the veterans. My thought behind this, and we'll get to this in a minute, is these guys can be revived, and then any number of company veterans can have their bolt guns replaced with the following. And there's a big list of things here, from multi-meltas to thunderhammers to las cannons. So in my case, I'm going to take 2, my veterans are going to have 2 storm shields, and they're also going to have 2 las cannons. Glass cannons are 48 inches, they're strength 12, they're minus 3, they're d6 plus 1. So las cannons are pretty decent, and las cannons aren't shown on this profile, but you could scroll down to the armory and you could see them there. What's interesting with this squad, right, is they've got the Narcium. So while this unit contains the apothecary, so essentially the apothecary is your last model that's going to die, you can get to revive a destroyed model, excluding characters. So if you did attach a character, you couldn't revive the character, but that's fine. We'll just revive our veterans with a storm shield, or we'll revive our champion with the storm shield. I keep calling them storm shields. They're called Astrea shields now. Sorry, Astartes shields. They're Astartes shields. So we'll keep reviving those guys with the Astartes shields. That's 3 wounds and a 4-up invuln save. And we know that 4 invuln saves can be very good. In a sense, these guys are basically like Terminators from last edition, right? With storm shields. Because 3-up save, 4-up invuln, 3 wounds per model. Toughness 4. While this unit contains the Ancient, we get to add 1 to OC models in this unit. So every model in this unit counts for 2 OC, and any characters that will attach will also count for 2 OC. Someone was saying that if you ever get into a situation where your OC gets halved, the banner is actually really good, because you add the banner afterwards. I need to actually find that in the rules and get clarification on that, but apparently the banner means that you can use that afterwards. I don't know 100% on that. I'm still learning 10th edition. If someone knows that, please leave me in the comment down below, or what page to find it. I've been back and forth the rulebook a bunch of times this last week. We do stream live games every Wednesday night. We are still figuring out the rules, so if you want to come and learn with us, please come along. Our streams at the moment are a little bit all over the place on Wednesdays, because there have been a lot of rule changes, but I think we're sort of getting there. The final thing is Honor and Death. So while this unit contains a champion, we get to advance and charge rolls for this unit. And this unit can target for Heroic Intervention for 0 CP, and you can do that even if you've already used that in the phase. So if we were going to deep strike this unit, then that's the cool thing, I guess, right? Because we would deep strike, we get +1 to advance and charge. We've got 3 guys with storm shields. We've got potentially 3 infernal pistols, potentially 5 if you want to give up some of your survivability. And I chose las cannons, and the las cannons are going to make sense in a second, but there's nothing to say you couldn't have some grav guns in there, or grav cannons. You couldn't have multi-meltas in there. It's all free, so multi-meltas could be good. The reason I haven't picked multi-meltas is because they won't be in half range when you bring them in from reserve, or when you teleport with them with the Librarian Dreadnought, because that is an option for, I guess, a turn 1 sort of alpha strike that you could do with Blood Angels. So everything about the company veteran squad seems fine. 165 points for 5 guys, 3 storm shields, 3 infernal pistols, 2 las cannons, the special champion's blade, the +1 to advance and charge, the free heroic, the 2 OC, and revive 1 model a turn. That actually doesn't sound too expensive. You know, like if you're talking like 100 some points for like a squad of heavy intercessors, I guess they would be on 3 wounds a model. They wouldn't be able to revive, they wouldn't get +1 to advance and charge, they wouldn't be able to heroic, they wouldn't have the extra blade, they wouldn't be reviving, they wouldn't have a couple of las cannons, they wouldn't, I guess heavy intercessors would be OC too. So yeah, 165, it's maybe a little bit pricey, but not much, maybe just 10% or something. And that's where it gets interesting. So we're going to attach Tycho to this squad. And I like Tycho a lot. He's really weird, actually, this edition. This is the best Tycho has ever been in as long as I can remember. Maybe back in 2nd edition, he was really good. But this is the best that I have ever seen Tycho. You know, I grabbed the old 2nd edition book, and while Tycho gets a whole page of rules, he actually wasn't that good. I guess the cool thing was for him in 2nd edition was he got to pick one unique war gear card. So it was almost like he was a named character with a little bit of customization. Anyway, let's talk about him now, because now he's mental, or he's insane, or I don't know. Like, so you can see here, he can be attached to the command squad. He is a captain, obviously because he's Captain Tycho. So he's a captain, he attaches to the command squad. He uses grenades, that's fine. He obviously wouldn't be able to be revived, but the enemy arguably wouldn't be able to target him because they have to chew through all 15 wounds and 4 up invulnerable saves on the command squad. Let's talk about his gun. It's 24-inch range, it's got 2 attacks, it's ballistic skill 2 up, it's strength 4 -1, 2 damage. At baseline, that doesn't seem that strong, right? Like, it's a 2 damage combi weapon with -1 AP. Cool. What's good about it is it's got Melta 2, which means if you're shooting at 12 inches or less, then you get to add 2 to the damage roll. It's got anti-infantry 4+, so anytime you wound infantry on a 4 up, you're going to do those devastating wounds. And because you're in half range, that instantly means 4 mortal wounds against infantry. So he's going to make us 2 attacks at strength 4, but anti-infantry 4 up is mortals. So against, like, if I was thinking about this, Blood Angels are not going to have that many good targets for Oath of Moment in turn 1, potentially. Potentially. You might have some Desolation Marines, you might have like some Gladiator Lancers. But if you don't, and the enemy has an infantry squad that you could deep strike to, you deep strike Tycho away from them, you've put Oath of Moment on that target, so you've got 3 shots hitting on 2s with 3 rolls. So arguably you're going to hit a good number of those shots, probably all 3. And then every 4 up against infantry is 4 mortal wounds on 4s, and you're re-rolling, right? But here's the kicker. While this model is leading a unit, each time that unit is selected to shoot, select one of the following abilities to apply to ranged weapons equipped by models in this unit until the end of the phase. So I'm going to give the unit Rapid Fire 1. So basically what that means is that Tycho's gun, his Blood Song, now gets an additional shot if you're within 12 inches because it's Rapid Fire 1. Your 2 las cannons that we talked about earlier, they also get an additional shot because they're Rapid Fire 1. On surface, that is okay, right? Like, against an infantry squad, now, Tycho can potentially do 12 mortal wounds, and then you've got 4 las cannons. Arguably, every shot from a las cannon with full rerolls is probably going to kill an infantry model. So if you were talking about basically fighting a 10-man squad of Marines, you know, like 20 wounds to chew through, every las cannons can only do a minimum of 2 damage now, 1 plus a 1, right? So arguably, this squad, before you shoot the Infernal Pistols, should wipe a 10-man squad, or should do a ton of damage to a 10-man squad. Bearing in mind that this squad's also going to get +1 to its advance and charge roll. So you are going to get that 8-inch charge like we had last edition, which is pretty sweet. So, against infantry, this could be deadly. The reason I like it could arguably be more deadly, I suppose, if you took multi-meltas into infantry. But I think the reason I like las cannons is las cannons are 48 inches on that command squad. So with the rapid fire ability, then you've got 2 las cannon shots at 24 inches. If you're able to deep strike, pick them up, put them down with the Librarian Dreadnought, then those las cannons have some real play around them. The other cool thing, I suppose, is he can also give stuff assault, which basically means like you could advance and shoot your las cannons. You come in, you kill your one squad of guys, and then you could go somewhere else and you could get some long range las cannon shots. If you do not kill your guys, if you do not kill the target you charge into, maybe you don't kill the target you charge into, the enemy charges into you, maybe they kill a couple of the veterans. That's not the end of the world, right? Because Blood Angels now have the strat. I actually forget what it's called, but it's 100% there. It's called Relentless Assault now. So after the movement phase, we can fall back and then we can basically declare a charge even though we fell back. So basically for 1 CP, arguably you could do this for free if you're in Gladiatus Detachment, or you could pay 1 CP to go back into Tactical Doctrine, I think, in Gladiatus Detachment and fall back and do the same thing. The other thing I haven't said yet, and we're going to get into in a moment, you can actually detach a lieutenant to the command squad as well, because technically Tycho's a captain, which lets you attach a lieutenant as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. And one of the bonuses of being a lieutenant is you actually get fallback shoot and charge as well. So when you fall back, you just need to fall back 1 inch from the enemy, right? And then you have your 3 Infernal Pistols, which will now have Rapid Fire 1. So you're actually getting 6 Infernal Pistol shots. You're getting Tycho's gun again. You're getting those, potentially some of those las cannons. If some of the models died, you can also revive them. The cool thing about reviving models is this is technically quite a slow squad, as in like once you've jumped in and killed a unit or done some damage, you're going to be quite slow because you cannot, you don't have any jump packs, but you can always use reviving to get 2 inches forward for unit coherency. So you can get additional movement, I guess 3.5 inches or so of additional movement. If anyone is not sure how to do that, it's like super simple. Imagine that's the front of my squad, and one guy's dead in my squad. When I revive a guy, I just put him in coherency at the front. And so you could potentially get up to 2 inches, plus however much this guy's base is. So you could easily get additional movement. It's very easy to do. If you don't understand it, ask in the comments. Or I've done other videos on reviving and the best ways to get stuff out of close combat. I'll probably make another video for 10th edition. Anyway, so Tycho we could do, and this is why some people, like at the moment we're seeing higher win rates for Gladiatus Detachment than Sons of Sanguinius Detachment, and I think it's probably just the flexibility of the doctrines that's pushing us over in that stuff like this. So like Tycho could come in, then we could advance, and then we could shoot the las cannons, we could even shoot the Infernal Pistols when we advance, we could shoot Tycho's gun when we advance. So I only used this squad once, and I used exactly what I'm telling you. I used Tycho with the 2 las cannon Storm Shield guys, with the 3 Infernal Pistols. Arguably, you could actually put I think you can put a combi bolter, or a combi weapon. I think you can put a combi weapon on the Ancient, so if you wanted to run just 2 Infernal Pistols and another combi weapon. The disadvantage of running that combi weapon is the combi weapon is already Rapid Fire 1, I believe. Of course, combi weapon isn't listed here on these one-page data cards. Of course it's not. But yeah, so a copy weapon is already Rapid Fire 1, so yes, it would give you 1 more shot, I suppose, when you deep strike, and again, it would have the devastating wounds anti-infantry, so it could potentially increase this squad's output from 12 mortal wounds to 14 mortal wounds. I think the thing I preferred the idea of was like, the enemy are going to try and chew this squad up. They're going to potentially try to chew them up in melee. If they try and chew them up in melee, I'm 100% going to fall back 1 inch and then rain fire with Infernal Pistols and las cannons and Tycho's mortal wound gun, and then I'm probably going to recharge so I can fight first, probably. Tycho isn't bad in melee either. Colin made fun of him last week on the battle report, and then I think he did 12 damage to Epidemius in 1 turn of melee, so he's fine, right? Like, 2 up, strength 4 -1, 2 damage, 12 damage is the most he can do. He did 12 damage. I think it's probably because the turn before I whiffed and didn't roll any 4-ups for the anti-infantry mortal wounds. I didn't use Oath of Moment when I whiffed. I think if you're going to try this tactic, you really have to oath your target. I think Oath will give you like insane reliability, you know, full up for mortal wounds with full rerolls. I mean, it seems pretty reliable. It's 75% chance. So that is, in a nutshell, what you can do with this squad. Tycho also has a mad attack, so if the whole squad dies, or I suppose if a sniper shoots at Tycho, because that could happen, the first time an attack is allocated to the model, so actually if a sniper shoots at him and he manages to shrug the damage off, like he manages to make an invulnerable save against it or something, until the end of the battle you get to change his attack's characteristic to 12. So yeah, Tycho could get 12 attacks in melee, so potentially 24, but that's more like his whole squad's dead and he's on a rampage, kind of like he was in the lower. So yeah, the only other thing to say here is then you could attach a lieutenant to this command squad if you really wanted. And this here is the lieutenant you can attach. So there's a couple options for the lieutenant. While this model is leading a unit, the unit gets lethal hits. So unfortunately that would actually turn off some of your mortal wound output, in that every time you would roll like a 6 to hit, you would get an auto wound. I mean, auto wounds aren't bad, but I think I'm not going to do it because I like the idea of Tycho doing 12 mortal wounds with his gun. I think that's stronger than getting lethal hits, but hey, if you want to add in lethal hits for the other guns or in melee combat, that could be valid. The advantage of having Lieutenant in there is you are going to get fallback and charge like the entire game, and if you do have 3 Infernal Pistols, then that's really good. I think the Lieutenant can take, like, he could add a bit of melee, a bit more power to melee to the squad. He can have a Power Fist. I think that's probably how I would run it. 4 attack, strength 8, -2 damage. And he could have another Infernal Pistol if you wanted. I think he can have a combi weapon. So potentially you could have 2 combi weapons, and you could have Tycho's crazy combi weapon, potentially doing 16 mortal wounds. But again, that brings in those lethal hits, which potentially, when you get those lethal hits, you're not going to be able to roll the wound roll and get those devastating wounds. So there's a trade-off, and this lieutenant's actually quite pricey. He's 4 wounds, and he was 80 points. I guess if you add him to the squad, he gets the benefit of the banner as well, so he's OC2, so the whole squad's like OC14, I think, because it'll be 7 guys. So it's actually not bad, and fallback and charge is genuinely pretty good. I think you're going to probably end up spending some CP on fallback and charge, or if you're doing gladiators, you'll be calling your tactical doctor in at the right times. So yeah, the lieutenant is a potential. You could add him. I'm not 100% sure if I'm sold on him. He seems, considering Tycho's 75 points, he seems a little bit overcosted at 80. The only other advantage I could see to bringing the Lieutenant would be that you could attach Bolter Discipline to him. If you're not familiar with Bolter Discipline, let me just tell you what it is. I'm planning on making another video actually, and there's another squad that I like Bolter Discipline on that I'm probably going to end up running this week. So I don't think I'll attach Bolter Discipline to Lieutenant, but if Tycho, Command Squad, and Lieutenant, if you want to go all in on them, by all means, attach Bolter Discipline. That basically means while he's leading the unit, models in that unit get sustained hits 1, which means when you roll a 6, you would get auto wounds. You would burst an additional wound, which would let you roll against devastating wounds. You could also, and if you do that, when you're in Devastator Doctrine, 5s score critical hits, so 5s become auto wounds and devastating wounds. Tycho's gun doesn't have much AP, and I think the advantage of Tycho's gun is the overflowing mortal wounds. But maybe, I mean, like I said, I'm going to make another video about the character I think you should put Bolter Discipline on. Up until now, we've seen a lot of people run him on Desolator Marines because he helps them loads. Rumour is that Desolation Marines are going to be nerfed probably this week. So anyway, more little videos about cool squad ideas are coming. If you have a cool idea that you've seen no one else talking about, send it to me, because that's where I'm getting some of my info. That's where we're going to get more videos out. Yeah. Thank you ever so much for watching to the end of the video. I will catch you in the next one. By the blood are we made strong, brothers. Peace.